come and support you, not only intellectually, but look at what Kato has said, that they will ensure they take their people at their cost, free of charge. So we've got a lot of people who want to support you. Okay, so, and this is commitment that they have come here to speak. I'd like you know, it's one thing to talk about open skies. And I want Mohammed to come and just talk to you about open skies and just give you the kind of figures that we had and the figures we can do. So, Mohammed, please. Mohammed will take 49 minutes, so prepare. No, Mohammed, 9 minutes. 4 minutes. Yeah. He's got a whole document.
Thank you, Victor. I'll be quite brief, Mheshimiwa. I would like to welcome you once again to this forum for tourism players, and thank you for meeting us. We've been speaking in the past, and I'm glad that we've been able to call for this meeting. I do recall, we'll have even met much earlier, but other things, came up. Open skies, Patrick has touched on it very, very clearly, Hasnain as well, but let me just explain very quickly. Open skies is about accessibility, and if tourists and visitors are not able to get to a destination, then you don't exist. It's as simple as that. Open skies may not have been an issue some 15 years ago, because then Kenya Coast and Mombasa was mainly dependent on charter aircrafts, airlines. And it was led by African Safari Club that was feeding Mombasa, and you don't even have to market the destination. They had almost 15 hotels all the way from North Coast all the way to Watamu. And at the same time, then they will also feed Savo East and Savo West. Then suddenly, we started getting problems. Terrorism came in, slowly we started losing out, and then it became expensive to start putting in charters on this route. Nowadays, I'm in tours, and we also handle charters. For you to put a single charter in a destination, it's not costing anything less than $1.2 million. Nobody is willing to do that. TUI is our partners. TUI, being a big player after the collapse of Thomas Cook, are not able to put and take a risk to do it on their own to fly to Mombasa. So what were they doing? They have to partner with Rainbow, for instance, from Poland. Because nobody wants to take the risk to fly in an aircraft. You don't know you'll get your returns, etc. 2007 is what we consider to be the golden year of Kenya's tourism. At that time, Mheshimiwa, we were getting close to 39 charters landing in Mombasa until, of course, we misbehaved ourselves into a problem. They disappeared, but again, we built back. So by 2012, we started getting around 18 of them, 20 of them. We don't want to talk about the past. The past is gone. But now we have a replacement, which is scheduled airlines that are willing and eager to fly to Mombasa. If you spoke to the same airlines like Emirates some 15 years ago, they'll have said we are not flying to Mombasa because our image was not good. Fundamentalism, demos, name it. We didn't have a good name. But that has now all gone, and Mombasa, suddenly, people are looking at it in good light. But we have a problem, and we have a challenge. And the challenge is about licensing. Kenya Civil Aviation Authority, that we've all been blaming for a long time, actually don't license scheduled flights. Scheduled flights are controlled by the parent Ministry of Transport. Kenya Civil Aviation Authority control charters. If you get anybody today applying for a charter, they will approve, they have no issues. Now, the challenge we have, as I explained to you the other day, is people who are trying to get a license to fly to Mombasa are being stopped, ostensibly to protect our national carrier. Let me make it clear that we are not against our national carrier. It is good, Mheshimiwa, that we have a national carrier. And we saw the importance of a national carrier during the COVID crisis, when we had to evacuate our own from different cities around the world to come back. Countries that didn't have national carriers had a lot of problems. But at the same time, it should operate properly. If Ethiopians can do it, why can't we also not do it? Kenya Airways and government of Kenya are very focused on Nairobi. They've clearly told us we want to develop Nairobi as a hub. Basically, Mombasa is being pushed to the periphery, which we really need to fight, and we also need to object to that. Why? Because when you look at South Africa, they had similar challenges. The city of Durban, which is a port city, very identical to Mombasa. They had crime, they had issues, drugs, and name it, and they were suffering. They invested in a convention center. Then they told South African government, look here, because they have something like close to Majimbo, they said, look here, open the skies for Durban. And Durban was opened. Ethiopian, Qatar, everybody is flying there. What has happened? MICE industry has just ballooned. Cape Town, same thing happened. Has it made South African Airways poorer? Not really necessarily. Our own national carrier, which is blocking others from coming to Mombasa, will fly from Nairobi, hop to Livingstone in Zim, and then again jump from there and go to Cape Town. They're busy enjoying open skies elsewhere, but they don't want others to come to Mombasa. Now, at the moment, I think we have a golden opportunity, Chairman and Mheshimiwa. A lot of infrastructure development has been done in Mombasa. I don't want to focus too much on what it is costing us. For me, I'm focusing on how can I use that infrastructure. And for tourism players today, we have fantastic infrastructure positioning Mombasa. And if you succeed being elected, you'll be inheriting a city that is waiting, to go places. The kind of infrastructure we're going to have is out of this world. But if there are no airlines landing at Moi International Airport, then it's pretty useless. Why am I saying it's a crucial moment? If I'm not wrong, next month, which is next week, there's a lot of focus on Mombasa because His Excellency would like to come and open Makupa, which we actually did not even know it was going to happen, but quickly they've built a beautiful bridge. I must commend the national government for that. Now, our CS, Transport, has been talking about KLM. He's talking about Turkish. The fact that he's talking about it, it means the message has reached them. So, Mheshimiwa, as the Member of Parliament and future governor, you need to come in very strongly. The leadership at the coast and Mombasa have overly focused on the ports. Yet, tourism in the old good days, 60% of Kenya's tourism will actually come out of Mombasa. Today, because tourism is not doing well, just look at our Kenya shilling. It's been beaten, battered, to the point that we even have now two markets, a black market and a formal market, which is very unfortunate. If tourism today was kicking, Mheshimiwa, our shilling will not have suffered. So what we wish to see from you, and it is quick win, is to get Qatar to be allowed to come back. Then Turkish Airlines, they were flying, they had a license to fly 7 flights Nairobi, 7 flights Mombasa pre-COVID. When COVID, we reopened, for some reason, government gave them only 7. And they were told 7 into Kenya. How you're going to separate Nairobi, Mombasa, it's your problem. Now, Mheshimiwa, flying to a destination less than 4 flights, it's pretty useless because airlines, you have to keep them minimum 48 hours to rest, which means you have to accommodate them in a 4-star or a 5-star hotel. So what has Turkish Airlines done? They said it's not worth our time. We better use the 7 flights for Nairobi. That is how Mombasa has lost out. KLM are eager to fly, to come to Mombasa. Now, when you look at Turkish Airlines is flying to 127 countries in the world, connecting Mombasa to 327 cities. Germany alone, they are flying to not less than 14 cities. So you can leave the smallest village in Germany and say, I am going to Mombasa. You don't have to go to Nairobi because you have no business in Nairobi. And people would like to come to Mombasa. In the good old days, Germans will say, I'm going to Mombasa. They have no idea. They are not even interested to know about the rest of Kenya. applies to the French, applies to everybody else. So Mombasa should not be allowed to play second fiddle to Nairobi, because Mombasa has an economy to look after. Mombasa is the gateway to East Africa and many other factors. And not only tourism. We engaged Kenya Flower Council. They actually do not have cargo space to fly flowers, to fly vegetables, and name it. Can you imagine, because even Nairobi is suffering with this same thing, these guys are willing to to drive their cargo all the way to Mombasa and use space if, let's say, KLM was to come to Mombasa today. So our ask, when you meet His Excellency the President, a man you speak to often, KLM, Turkish, Qatar, all these guys should get their licenses, including Air Arabia, and Mombasa will start kicking. Overnight, we will get not less than 37 scheduled flights. And let me tell you, Mombasa will kick once again. I think my focus is open skies, and it should happen. And let me also tell you this, Kenya Airways should not be worried. How can you claim you've lost something you've never had? If you've not been flying to Germany, you're not flying to you're not flying to Manchester, you're not flying to London from Mombasa, how can you say you've lost? In Swahili, they say, joka la mdimo. You get a snake that lives on a lemon tree, you protect that lemon tree, but you're not partaking that lemon. That's exactly how our national carrier is behaving. Thank you very much, Chairman. And I wish you good luck with my brother Francis Toya in the elections, and we look forward to work with you guys. Thank you.
Mheshimiwa, you've had it all. You've had facts being given. You've had commitment to support you. Like I said, I know who our governor is coming in, and it's for 10 years. So you've got a lot on your plate. I'd now like to ask you to come in and respond. And guys, know that after this, there is dinner that has been reserved for you. Mi naweza chukua takeaway. Ndio Governor mtarajiwa.
I hope I'm going to be extremely brief. However, considering all the issues that you have raised, you will need to lend me your ears. Now, one, the issue of the Kenya Wildlife Service, how levies can be charged legally are in two ways. One, if it's an act of parliament. Two, if it's a regulation. The Constitution of Kenya, and then there's the act that talks about delegated legislation. So what basically happens is, in the event that KWS or any other entity wishes to start charging any levy, they first have to gazette it, and then in the process of that, they need to bring it to Parliament, where it goes through the Committee on Delegated Legislation. Unfortunately, Parliament is already closed. So that means we have no sessions, we cannot be able to debate or anything. However, it's a challenge you have already given me. We cannot, because you see, the problem that is going to be there is if they start charging it, reversing it is going to be extremely difficult. So the best way out is to stop them before they start. And there's some things that can be able to wait until we're governors. Some things cannot be able to wait. So I'm going to take the challenge by tomorrow to confirm with the legal section of Parliament, who I still do get in touch with them on a day-to-day basis on a number of matters, to confirm what is the legal status on this. Two, this is the part that I really fail to understand. And it's really unfortunate, but our intention is very simple. The economy of Mombasa has to be revived. The bottom line of our conversation should be about reviving the economy of Mombasa. I want to give you an example. According to Instagram's analysis, one of the largest social media platform today, one of the major reasons why people travel is for the opportunity to be able to take a picture, the opportunity to be able to showcase. Forget about anything else. Do we want to consider existing drug rehabilitation centers to be empowered? In the process of empowering them as well, supply reduction can only be done with the police. Me and you have no power to reduce supply reduction. But demand reduction is where the county government will come in very, very heavily by going out there and speaking, getting peer educators to talk to these children at a very young age, training them, teaching them, rehabilitating those who've already been exposed and were once victim of drug abuse.
Kwa Mungu Baba, Mungu Baba, kiongozi tumeletewa toka kwa Mungu Baba, Abdulswamadi, kijana mchapa kazi, anaweza kuwakilisha Masaka. Gavana wetu ni wewe, gavana wetu ni wewe, gavana wetu ni wewe, kiongozi wetu ni wewe, kiongozi wetu ni wewe.
So we want to build the county attorney's office, strengthen it, and have a department of public litigation. In that particular department, we will need a lot of people who will come. And I'm only giving you an example of one of the departments that will be involved. And all this will be rated based on your performance. So if you've been called on attachment, it's only fair that if you don't perform, we merit the one who performed, isn't it? So there'll be a performance-based arrangement where if they're able to perform, we are going to... When I read an article, the first thing I did, I sent it to you and I called you about this when Turkish Airlines, it was about Turkish Airlines. My belief as well is that we need to have an open sky in Mombasa. We'll go out of our way. What we intend to do, and it is a suggestion that has come from yourselves, and I now give our commitment that we will do that as well. What we had intended to do in regards to the health, we are setting up a health task force. The health task force, its role is that within a certain period of time to give recommendations to the governor's office on various issues like this particular hospital would be best suited to do this, these are the number of doctors you need, these are the number of nurses you need, clinical officers. Then with that, we use that as a basis for us to now look at our budgets. We want to do something similar, because the ideas that are coming in here, we cannot be able to automatically just come up and say that these are the immediate solutions. So we'll come up with a nice lean team amongst yourselves that will be more of a tourism task force that will then make the necessary recommendations on what we should do immediately, what we should do intermediary, and what we should do for purposes of long term on the same. And regarding the matters of licenses, we've even gone further. All of you are hoteliers here, a number of you at least are hoteliers, and some of you deal with the hotel industry. And you know that to capture some of the best clientele, your hotels have concierge services. We are going to do something similar. we're actually going to have a desk called an ease of doing business desk. When I say a desk, it does not necessarily mean it is one table, but it's going to be a department that will be domiciled at the governor's office. This is how important we're looking at reviving Mombasa's economy. Once we have been able to do that, these are young people active with the will and heart of Mombasa, then it is easier for you to tell us that, we're getting so many problems getting this and this and this license. And all these people will be on performance based. That means at the end of every quarter, they have to give a report how many business they actually helped in thriving. That is what it is that we're looking at. An idea that just was floated over right now regarding the tourism catering levy. The tourism fund is a state corporation. The function of this particular state corporation, it is actually a national state corporation, is the 2% that is collected as a tourism levy is meant for purposes of reinvestment back into the tourism industry. So these are very, very different. You cannot be able to mix the tourism fund and the county. So we cannot say that. However, the law allows for us to be able to identify a collector. And in this instance, for argument's sake, we put in a liquor licensing board whose role will be to say that these are the areas, demarcate the areas that should be able to sell liquor and so on. We can be able to request the tourism fund to be a collector. Ultimately, you can never be good at everything. You can't be good at setting up policies. Then at the same time, you depend on your own department to be an excellent revenue collector. Then at the same time, you want to be the one to implement and all this. So we need to literally positively look at ways of giving some responsibilities to others, whether it is going to be the Kenya Revenue Authority, and ask them, this is what we want you to do to be able to be, these are the figures that we're expecting. So in terms of good governance, we have to seal loopholes. When you seal loopholes, we're looking at saving the county at least 30% from what would have gone as wasted and pilferage. And of course, some of it going into people's pockets. So these are some of the suggestions and ideas that we're definitely looking at doing. I'm more than willing to have a look at the beach management bill that you have talked. I think one thing that caught my ear was the fact that you said there's going to be source of revenue there. We want to look at it, but at the same time, we don't want to hurt anyone. Our intention, it is not the role of government to make money. A role of government is to facilitate the lives of its citizens to become better than the way it was. Let's just get that very, very clear. When any government talks about putting up any levy, any tax, or anything else, it should only be for purposes of facilitating its constitutional obligations, whether it is water, it is the drainage system, whatever it is that is there. This is where the levies need to come in. However, at the end of the year, a government should not be looking at its audited accounts and saying that, oh, by the way, congratulations, we now have so much money and you don't have anyone to pay the dividends to. Our role is to actually facilitate the lives of people to be better, to make Mombasa thrive. And this is what we want to do. I heard so much about the issue of garbage collection, the water, and the sewer system. One of the first things that we will be floating is an expression of interest for those who will want to partner with Mombasa in regards to not just garbage collection, because then that becomes a toll on Mombasa, but considering setting up acceptable recycling plants. Mombasa needs to look at every single obstacle as an opportunity, every single challenge to be something that we can be able to turn into positivity. So look at ways, can we be, and by the way, when I was in the National Assembly, one of the things that we've been able to pass before I finished my tenure was that for renewable energy, green energy, you can actually now be able to say that you're supplying that energy without having to necessarily pass through Kenya Power. So imagine if Mombasa County can be able to come up with an investor and say that we're producing power, we've got the capacity to be able to bring in, to come out with recyclable paper, plastic, whatever it is. But then just that element of power is supplied back to you as the hotels, and the hotels start using clean, green energy. It is doable. It is very, very doable. The other issues, of course, is the matters of water. In other parts of the world, you've got prepaid electronic cards that you don't even, 22% of all the taps in Mombasa are the ones that are getting water from Mombasa Water. That means 78% are either getting it from water vendors or from boreholes. I don't need to stress this even further enough on how that is affecting the environment and the ecosystem of Mombasa, because you can imagine every single person is digging boreholes left, right, and center. And there's some things that you cannot even stop because water is life. People will need that water. However, we do have to now start saying that. And by the way, another fact that is clear, water from water vendors and borehole water actually is more expensive than Mombasa water per cubic meter. And the only reason why people are buying it is because where else are they going to get that water from? So you have that, and these are the first things we're going to float out, expression of interest. Again, the county government cannot be the one to say that they're going to do everything. We will need to have stakeholders to come on board and to be able to assist us in this. The liquor licensing board, by all means, that is going to be something that is going to be up and running. A commitment that I've already given is something else, that a certain percentage that is collected from the liquor licensing shall go into purposes of rehabilitation. We all know that we have a problem of drug and drug abuse. A certain percentage of whatever is collected from the liquor licensing will be ring-fenced for purposes of rehabilitating our youth. We need to have that, and to also include it in coming up with outreach programs. That means continuously talking to these youth that they should not get into such kind of vices. So this is something that is going to be extremely important to me. The training of the beach operators. As a member of parliament, I had a program called Skills Mitaani, which worked extremely well. You come in and you choose the vocational training that you wish to have. I live constituency where I've been able to train about 11,000 people on any vocational subject of their own choice, their own, if this is what it is that they want to do. And we know how vital and a game changer this is. So we intend to include training of the beach operators through the same program of Skills Mitaani. I heard the issue of many people wanting to do with attachments and job and everything. What we intend to do, our unemployment rate is extremely high. It is truly extremely high. And what we intend to do is come up with what is called a job placement database. Then that means it's so easy for Whitesands, for any other hotel, to be able to tap in and see what is the skilled labor, what is the white collar possibilities of people, blue collar possibilities of our young people that you wish, if you prefer the person to be a female because of the job that they'll be doing, or a man because of the job that they'll be doing. Not that I'm saying that I'm being gender insensitive, but we'll categorize this in a proper job placement database. And we are hoping that if we are going to make your lives easy, we are hoping that in turn, the least that can be done is employ our youth. We are truly, truly banking on everyone. I'm meeting all stakeholders, and I'm giving my commitments, but in the hope that once I do these levels of commitments, that it is our youth who are going to be employed. I have no problem in someone telling me that they're bringing in some youth from Nairobi or from Tanzania or wherever, but at least justify why the youth from Mombasa cannot and should not be employed as a priority first. It is only fair that if we're going to make life easy for everyone, then make the youth as well be employed. Then I think the issue of, there's some things I think the industry should partake to be on the forefront, like the monthly beach cleanups. If the industry partakes to be on the forefront on this, we will be able to support you on the same. There's the issue of establishing a tourism information and resource center. By all means, I think, again, let us not reinvent wheels. If whatever is already existing, let us provide you with what is needed so that we don't have to start saying that, the private sector has its own, then the public sector has its own, and we're duplicating our efforts, whereby if our efforts were actually joined, it would work way, way better. And lastly, I think, well, not lastly, there's the issue of pending bills. I recently met with lawyers, and this is what I told them. When we go in, we would rather be remembered as people who spoke the truth. With the current level of pending bills, it is literally going to be, let's just call it the way it is. We cannot just come in and say that you're paying all bills. But what we can say is that I intend for the Finance Department to follow the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act to the letter. That means if you do not have money, don't purchase. That is what the law says. If you do not have the money, don't ask for the service. Unless the money is going to be there, or even if it is not currently there, but it has already been budgeted for, and you're anticipating that by this amount of time that money is going to be in the account. So the first thing that we will have to do is all these pending bills that are going to be there, we're going to have to pile them up and then come up with a payment plan. There are a certain amount. It's the only way, because we also need to leave a legacy that we were able to do A, B, C, and D. We cannot leave a legacy of just having paid pending bills, isn't it? So whatever it is that is currently pending, we will come up with a payment plan and tell you that we are requesting you, let us do this. However, moving forward, whatever it is that is due, we will commit ourselves to pay it as and when it is due. There was the issue of the Old Town in the Akamba. We recently had a meeting with Akamba. How important we feel that industry is, the ones who make the sculptures and everything. First thing we've already committed to doing. These guys had penalties and because of land rights, and you can imagine they didn't do any business during COVID. So we've already committed to waive those penalties during the COVID period. It's a commitment we've actually already given to waive penalties on license fees as well for those people who own market stalls in county markets, and equally to private schools, because these schools were closed as well. And some of these guys right now, and all that is happening is you're just getting people going there to demand for money at every single time, and then they have to part away with 2,000 and 3,000. It's not the Mombasa that we really want. Let's give everyone that encouragement that, we're giving you a fresh lease of life so you can be able to see what needs to be done. Now, I've heard so much whilst I was here. tourism by definition, a layman's definition, would be to get in people to come into your town, your city, your county. But then how you're going to get them to come there, the reason why you want them to come there, could be so many. Countries like India and Turkey right now are so heavy on medical tourism. You've got mice as a way of tourism. Then we've got the old age tourism that Mombasa has been known for, where people can just, the way it used to be. And now, this is a challenge to yourselves as well. What can we be able to do to make you so different from everyone else? And the way that I see this, Mombasa should not even be marketed as the Mombasa of old. Mombasa should be marketed as whatever you want Mombasa to be, it will be. That means if you want to come to Mombasa and your choice is a cultural destination, we will take you to the old town. We will give you the Swahili food that is there and everything else. If you want to come to Mombasa for purposes of it being a conference facility, if you look at our manifesto as well, one of the first things we want to consider doing, and we're not limiting and we're not tying our hands with just those two, but the first two that we've identified is the Kenya Ports Authority Pension Scheme and KICC, that we come up with a conference facility. Once we've been able to do that, again, the role of county is not to make money, but once that has been put up, you can imagine how many of your beds are going to be occupied. And it is doable, it is achievable. No one would want to go to a conference at a place where they're confined in the cold. Every single person believes in going into a conference where they can be able to now, after they've done their presentations, to go out and enjoy the sunshine, to go out and enjoy the beaches and everything else. People want to come to a place where they've finished their conferences. They can easily get a van and take them all the way to Savo, to Shimba Hills. And another thing that Mombasa has that is so beautiful, and this is just, it is what it is. We're right in the middle of everything, We're right in the middle. So we can be a destination of choice for whatever it is that people want us to be able to deliver for them. We can be able to do it. We give our commitment that we are actually going to be doing all these things. I've heard a lot of other issues that have been, I would call them extremely radical changes for us to consider. But we equally, it is not even about revenue. The people who are driving the tuk-tuks, it is not just about revenue to the county, because when I met them as well as stakeholders, they were also complaining about them paying too much levies, which we will have to now start seeing and considering and everything else. But it is about livelihood. The issues that we are looking at is coming up with and culminating the whole of our problems with solutions. Because you have to understand that the reason why someone is using a tuk-tuk, a boda-boda, a matatu, or anything else is because there's a demand for it. So we now need to start thinking beyond that. What if, and these are the things that we want to do. Ports, ferries, and harbors are currently devolved. Can you imagine if we are able to set up a pontoon or a ramp, and we ask whoever it is that wants to invest, that listen, you have a market here for transporting people. That means people can actually be able to board a ferry from Twapa, and they can be sent all the way to town. We have to look at things in the bigger perspective of things. Naturally, that will automatically cut down the traffic on our roads. Another interesting issue was talked about is the Kongowea market. We were there just last Saturday. This market is totally underutilized. I'll tell you why it's underutilized. You can imagine it's what, two floors? And you're asking people to carry their wares. It's four stories, yes. You're asking them to carry their wares up, and there's no elevator, and someone has to carry a sack of potatoes to take them up. Then you're getting someone who wants to come and buy and telling them go all the way up and then carry it down. So we've got assets that are being underutilized. So we need to now consider on such kind of ideas that have been able to be brought by yourselves. Then I think the other issue that came in is involvement of women in government. You can be rest assured it's not just involvement in women in government alone. It's actually supporting our women. We're looking at, in fact, I think, and I know whenever I say this out there, but one of the things that we want to and we will be doing is coming up with what is called a second chance program. We've got too many single mothers out there. And having a baby should not be a reason for a woman to suffer in life. So these are the things that we have already in place. That if someone needs to go back to school, let them go back to school. If someone is someone who can be able to finish their university degree, let them finish their university degree. And a revolving fund as well. I'm insisting on this being a revolving fund because then that means the investment by the county government on an annual basis decreases. A revolving fund to be able to assist people who are women in business, the youth in business, people with disability. That means if you take 10 shillings, you don't have to return 15, like what is going on with the Fuliza loans and everything. The figures are actually mind-blogging in the amount of money that people are actually borrowing right now. So we want to come up with this fund, and we will be looking at stakeholders and friends as well, and tell them, why don't you come on board and support us in this? We want to have something that is going to be truly open and transparent, and it is going to go down all the way to grassroots level. So the issue of women is not just going to be appointment. It is going to be appointment and supporting the women of this county. I think I've said, I've probably answered everything that has been raised by yourselves. Lastly, Snain talked about the road from the airport, and then Mohammed actually put the icing on the cake. We've been blessed that during our tenure, all these have already, ours is now to see how we're going to maximize usage of those. So that means, hasten the process of finalizing it. Whatever needs to be done should be done. I don't want to hear of a situation whereby someone is telling me that we're not going to have tourists because of Kibarani, because now the road is as good as, they're going to be finishing it very, very soon. I had raised these matters in Parliament, and I know one of the major reasons why that road delayed was because of previous regimes' poor planning, unfortunately. You can imagine they dig up, and then after digging up, they realize that, oops, there's water pipes down here. Then they dig somewhere else, they realize, oh dear Lord, we've just gone and done some other damages. So people were doing things, but what is most important is that it has been finalized. And then also, the first contractor who had been given this contract was unable to finish it. They had to then change these contractors. But like you said, our interest is not to go back. Our interest is now to say that where we are, how can we be able to make things better? So I think the challenge that I will take up immediately is two. One is the issue of the open skies, and the other issue is the issue of the Kenya Wildlife Service. You have my word on it, so by all means. So I want to thank you once again. It's been interesting, it's been informative to be able to sit with all of you. Nothing is cast in stone. whatever it is, whatever suggestions. This is an industry that is fluid in the sense that every single day ideas will be able to come up, and other ideas will be able to be better and better than what was yesterday. But do realize that one of the first things that we will be doing is coming up with a tourism task force whose mandate will be to advise the governor's office on reviving the issues of tourism. So thank you very much, and asanteni sana. Thank you, really. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much. We'll not have much Q&A because we've already had our issues. We've elaborated, and Honorable has really explained so much. So we just have one event before we leave. I'd request the chairman and our board members to come in front here, and also the DG candidates and the gubernatorial candidates, Chairman KHC, so that we can present all that we have said. Ishpal, come with the document. And then after that, we'll have Mr. Nudin to give vote of thanks. Then we can just break for dinner. Francis, you'll advise us where to go. So, Mohammed, please come.
Whereas we don't want to take too much time, unless there is a very burning question that was left out, that somebody, just as people come, that wanted to ask directly to our incoming governor. Oh, okay. I will allow 2 questions. Huh? 3 questions. I'll do this.
30 seconds, please.
Nala?
No. Your Honor, when is the road from Mombasa to Mtwapa going to be upgraded?
That is road to Mombasa to Mtwapa.
Yes. Mheshimiwa, I wanted to ask, especially the schools are closing in Europe very soon, and this is what we call normally the peak season, 3 or 4 months of good business. And this is the best time we need charters or scheduled flights to be allowed to land into Mombasa. So we are actually time bad. You have already promised us, but my question is, do you have a timeline within which we can know and say, okay, the transport minister has said yes or no to these flights? What kind of timelines do we expect? So that then I can ask Victor, what did Mheshimiwa say about the flight? Did he succeed or not? Kindly give us a timeline. Thank you.
No more questions, huh? Yes. Okay. Please. That's the second last one. No more.
Thanks so much. On the issue of trash on the Mombasa beaches, it's really severe. And as much as I oppose the fees instituted by Kenya Wildlife Service, I can say that Mombasa Marine Park collects 1 ton of trash every single month. That's a lot of trash. They don't have anywhere to put it, so they pile it on the entryways to the beaches, which doesn't benefit anybody, and it is a county responsibility, actually, to keep the beaches clean. The county has been absent. I've been working on this issue for 10 years, and so I really encourage the county to come together with all the tourism stakeholders to create an environment where it is actually clean on our beaches. Thank you.
Mine is not a question. It's as much as we want all this to happen, I believe, being the political time and about 40 days or so to go, I believe we are going to agree to give you our votes so that all this can happen when you get in. Thank you.
I said that it's going to be the governors. Here it is.
All right, the Mombasa to Mtwapa road is actually a road that belongs, there's 4 categories of roads, actually 5. There's the Kenya National Highway Authority, then there's the roads that belong to Kenya Urban Roads Authority, then there's the Kenya Rural Roads Authority, then there's the roads that belong to the county government, and then the 5th category of roads actually belong to the parks. All the parks, the roads in the parks. The fuel levy, the road fuel levy, that every time that we pay fuel, there's, I think it's, I stand to be corrected, I don't want to be quoted on this figure, but I think it's at about 18 shillings per litre goes to the, and then from there, the Kenya Roads Board then disseminates that money to the different agencies. So I know that this is a Kenha Road, Kenya National Highway Authority. It is not under the county governments, but I'm equally aware that they've already allocated money for this. So I might not know exactly when they will be starting, but I know. Yes, and the contractor has already been awarded on this. So, but I can ask. I can ask. The issue of the timeline, unfortunately, if had they been under my desk, I would have given you a definite timeline. However, this is something that is subject to an outgoing government. Now, in anything based on my experience, teams that are outgoing can have 2 effects. They can either be very effective or they can be less effective than how they usually are. But it is something that I will definitely raise. I will actually formally write. What I would request, Victor and I think Mohammed and Asnain are the ones who raised this, so you'll decide amongst yourself, is to just give me an indication that these are the airlines that have actually, and whether I can be able to get a copy of any of the applications, then we use that to have a bit of political push as well, because some of these things are actually political decisions. Unfortunately, I will not be able to give you a timeline, but I will definitely let them know that I've talked to these people immediately. I've been able to get those particular documents. The issue on the trash at the beach, like I said, the matters to do with garbage collection, we have to look at it in the whole holistic approach. That includes our beaches and our roads and our homes and our businesses as well. So we cannot look at it in terms of just the beach. And then, and I'm repeating this again, we cannot be masters of everything. We need to say that we have people whose job is to do this. What are other countries in the world doing? What are other countries that have beaches, they have the port, they have the busy CBDs? What are they doing about garbage collection? Should we imitate or should we make it way, way better? So, but I can assure you of one thing. However it is going to be, during our tenure, we do not intend to have garbage on the roads or on the streets or on the beaches as well. And lastly, about the vote. I actually had not even asked you for my vote, but thank you for your confidence. My intention is very simple. I don't want to be a one-term governor. As a matter of fact, I've said this, and I've said this when I'm out at the public as well. My job is not to win the elections. That is the voter's job. My vote is only one, and probably Francis is gonna, in terms of us as a duo, we'll vote for ourselves. Then after the 2 of us, the rest is all dependent on all of you. And that means those who are in this room and those who are outside as well. Our role and our job will start from 9th. That is when our job will start. The manifesto that we've presented to you is going to be our commitment and our pledge, so that come 2027, probably in a seated in somewhere else, because this hotel will be packed with tourists and they will have to look for another venue or whatever it is, then you can judge me and tell me that, human beings are judged by two things. They're judged by what you say, but equally what you say is judged on, usually, when you say what you say, do you usually deliver or not? And I've been a member of parliament for 10 years, and I believe my track record speaks for itself. So I do intend to deliver to the needs of the people of Mombasa. So thank you very much, and be blessed. Asanteni sana.
I just want to hand you.
Yes.
We can remove this.
I have so many
ODM ndio chama, Babara ila Odinga, ushawaka cheche, tegemea unapambana, Ebuti Francis Toya, basa mwamtaka nani? Vita mwamtaka nani? Famando gavana, Nyali mwamtaka nani? Famando gavana.
RKO King Melody.
Wendo kiongozi bora, unejua kuishi nasi na sio kubagua. Tumekuchagua wewe gavana, aele kuitegwa ya kishua, kama uvyaloipata mashua. Tumeshaamua Abdulswamad gavana, ujui kutetereka, weni ngangari, kwako kura tunaweka, tuko tayari. Hao wanakereka, si tupo shwari. 2022 wewe ndio gavana. Abdulswamad Mombasa yeuka, hiwa mawazo yende maendeleo, uchumi unazidi, uweni kura kare gavana. Kazi umetendewe na bado hatuna wasi wetu kogado, na gavana wetu ado wakiumwa wakameze panado. Abdulswamad ni gavana, we unamanya kupambana, hata harachi kukana, situko nawe pasana. Abdulswamad ni gavana, we unamanya kupambana, hata harachi kukana, situko nawe pasana. Changamwe Likoni tunakushabikia, Sauni na Nyali tumeshawekania ili yako, Mvita na Jomvu tumekuandalia, Mombasa nzima tumekuhifadhia.